All right. Quick question to open the service this morning. What was your best Christmas present this year? Somebody get a Christmas present that you're just sitting there like, cat that swallowed the canary. I want to tell everybody what I got for Christmas this year. What's your best Christmas present? Yes. Ping pong. A table? That is awesome. That's a good Christmas. Ping pong table. That is fantastic. Anyone else? I'm sorry. It's okay. Shy. Anyone else? What was your best Christmas present ever? What's that? A car? Wow, okay. Okay, a trampoline. Okay. What else? A horse? Okay. A puppy. I just been waiting for someone to say an engagement ring, No Christmas engagement. Okay, so we've got all these gifts. I wonder how many of you. Let's just take a couple of examples that were given. How many of you remember as a child just aching, wishing, hoping that you would get a Christmas puppy and you never did? I think I know a few people that wanted a Christmas horse and never got one. There's hands? Yeah, there's some hands there. Sorry, Amanda. Sorry, Bethany. I'm really sorry. Yeah, the front yard was a rough place for a horse. Now the farmhouse, I don't have so much of an excuse there. Yeah. So that wasn't just a little gratuitous Christmas exercise. That was for a specific reason. Our desires may change as we become adults, as we move into adulthood, as we mature, as we grow. Our desires might change, and they hopefully mature as we grow. But how many of you would agree that we human beings definitely have desires? How many of you have some desires right now that are as yet unfulfilled? Got some desires? Seems to be part of who we are. Some of them are completely unimportant and are more just kind of flights of fancy than anything else. But some of them are really deep. Some of them are really deep. Some of us have desires that are really quite profound. And I don't know if you think about this, if you ponder it, but it's sometimes worth exploring why we want the things we want, why we desire the things that we desire. The fact, however, is that we human beings have a powerful ability to long, a powerful ability to want, a powerful ability to desire. I want to explore that with you a little bit this morning. And then we'll see how this ties in to this series of messages on heaven that we've been focused at during this Christmas season. I want to start by reading John chapter 14 again, verses 1 through 3. John 14, verses 1 through 3. This has been the theme text of this series of messages. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you. For I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. Now, for whatever reason, this isn't clicking this morning, Judah. The word house there has pretty straightforward meaning. Verse 2, it means a residence or an abode. That is, it's a family home. The primary meaning is it's a family home. It's a residence, a place where people live, an abode, a family home. And the phrase there, dwelling places, that we just read, in my Father's house are many dwelling places. The phrase dwelling place means a residence. It comes from a verb to stay. Lots of places to stay. Lots of places to stay. Okay? In my Father's house, that is in his residence, in his abode, in his family home, there are many dwelling places. You could think of them as bedrooms. There's lots of places to stay. Okay? How many remember that old hymn, I've got a mansion just over the hilltop? Remember that? Got a mansion just over the hilltop? Out of curiosity, without singing it, without looking it up, I don't even know if it's in our hymnal. What are your thoughts about that hymn? I've got a mansion just over the hilltop.
It's a hymn of hope.
Okay. It's a hymn of hope. Okay. Just over the hilltop, right? It's close. We don't like to talk about death a whole lot, do we? But the hymn writer described it as just over the hilltop. Now, maybe he was on his deathbed when he wrote it. I don't know how old he was or she was when it was written. But just over the hilltop. It's right there. It's nearby. Any other thoughts on the hymn? How many of you are certain that what you have is a mansion? That phrase, dwelling places, has been translated mansions. It might mean that, but there's no guarantee that it means that. Ultimately, what it means is a place to stay. It means a residence. It may mean a mansion, but it's not guaranteed that it means a mansion. But I think if nothing else, yes, I agree. It's a hymn of hope. It's a hymn that is immediate, that says there's something coming that could come at any time. It's right over the hilltop. It could be right there. The fact of the matter is, it seems to be a hymn that expresses a certain human desire. It's a kind of ambition. I mean, what he didn't write is, I've got a house just over the hilltop. And he certainly didn't write, or she certainly, does anybody know who wrote that hymn so I can say either he or she? I should have looked it up. It's okay. Whoever wrote it, they certainly didn't write, I've got a hovel just over the hilltop, right? Didn't write that. And for good reason. We wouldn't expect the heavenly city. We wouldn't expect God to build slums, right? But we sing, I've got a mansion just over the hilltop. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop. Why? Because we human beings have desires. We have desires. On Christmas Eve, we did our tradition. We piled everyone into the van. We drove around. We drove around looking at Christmas lights. Hit various subdivisions, various housing developments, and just looking at. And the reality is, there were lots of homes done up really impressively with lots of lights. And some of the houses were really quite ordinary. And then there were some that were quite extraordinary. Some really beautiful homes, some mansions, right? And we have this thing within us, this desire for, what is it? What is it? Why does somebody want a mansion? I mean, it's a lot to clean, isn't it? Right? Maybe there's no dust in heaven. Maybe we don't have to clean them. Maybe we've all got someone to do that for us. Or maybe they just don't need cleaning. I don't know. Why do we want a mansion? Why do we want the things that we want? Well, in some senses, there's probably a combination of convenience associated with plenty of space for everything that, or everyone that we have and that we want to make room for. There's probably some element of convenience involved. There's probably some, if some of us are honest, there's probably some form of status or prestige, some sense that we've arrived, some sense that we've accomplished something, right? That, man, I've got something grand. Look what I was able to do, or look what I accomplished. For some, there is a desire for beauty that's involved. They want something impressive to look at, something beautiful to feast their eyes upon. There's various reasons. But the hymn writer wrote, I've got a mansion just over the hilltop. It tells us something about the human desire, the human ability to long, the human ability to want something, the human ability to have a desire for something. So at this point, I've got to tell you that while I've got a mansion just over the hilltop is one of the more well-known hymns in the Christian faith, lots of people know it, there are lesser-known writings that express a kind of a different idea. For example, there's a poem, I'm not going to take time to read it this morning, there's a poem in which the writer of the poem describes his home in heaven as a home that he has been providing building materials for during his life on earth. The idea is, my home will be commensurate with the life I've lived. There's a sense of reward that he's thinking of. Every believer goes to heaven, but that doesn't mean that every believer's home is exactly the same. And so with my life, I've been endeavoring to store up in that place gold, silver, precious stones as opposed to wood, hay, stubble, so that when I get there, I've got a mansion just over the hilltop. And it suggests the possibility that someone else might not have that. Now, I don't even know if that's true. Just telling you ways that human beings have looked at this issue of what's heaven going to be like for us. And the fact of the matter is that we live our lives, or that the poet lived his life in such a way that he refused to say, I'll live any old way I want because I don't really care how big of a house I have in heaven. He wants a mansion. He wants one. There's a desire there. In its purest sense, it would be a desire to simply please the Lord. But the fact of the matter is, according to his poem, he is getting something out of it. It's the building material from which his house is going to be built. And I want a mansion. Any of you remember the words to the hymn? I'm satisfied with just a cottage below, a little silver and a little gold. But in that city where the ransom do shine, I want a gold one that's silver lined. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop, right? Okay, I'm satisfied with something small down here, but not forever. When I get there, I want a doozy. Now, I don't know what that means. I'm not going to accuse anyone of lying about their ambitions of what kind of home they have on this earth, nor of bad motives in heaven. But the point, I think, that should come through for us is that we human beings have desires. We have desires. There's my picture of a mansion. I don't know if that's your idea of a mansion. It was just, had to find one. Desire. Desire. Let's explore the idea of human desire for a second. We human beings seem to have a capacity for unlimited desire. We're creatures of longing. It starts in the very beginning, Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. Let me read them to you. I'm sure that that most, if not all of us, know the story well. But in Genesis 3, we read this. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Indeed, has God said, You shall not eat from any tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, From the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. But from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat from it or touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, You surely shall not die, for God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Listen to verse 6. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took from its fruit and ate. And she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate. Now notice these three things about this text. First of all, every other tree in the garden was available to them. Every other tree was available to them. In other words, God had supplied generously for them. God had provided generously for Adam and Eve. Every tree of the garden that bore fruit, every tree of the garden that produced something edible to humans was available and legal. It was permissible for them to eat of it. Every tree, every other tree was theirs. Notice, secondly, that the forbidden tree was indeed good for food. It had a fruit on it that looked desirable. It had a fruit on it that looked appetizing. Now notice this, because this is an important point. The fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was indeed good for food, but it was forbidden to them. I'll tell you what, part of our problem as human beings is that we want things at the wrong time or in the wrong amounts. In other words, things that are lawful for us, things that are okay, things that are good for us for food, may be forbidden to us, if not permanently for a time. The fact of the matter is, things that are forbidden to us for a reason. They're forbidden to us for a reason. And sometimes it's not because the thing in and of itself is always bad. The fruit was good for food. Now, it was going to add something to their lives. They didn't know how bad that was going to be. But the point is simply this. Good things can be used sinfully or excessively in disobedience to God. Good things can be used disobediently, sinfully, or excessively, and they become a harm to us. They become destructive to us. The third thing we have to notice from this text is this, that after having been given everything else, the story of Eve demonstrates to us that we human beings have a desperate desire for the forbidden, don't we? Isn't this what Scripture teaches us? What does it tell us about the law? The law does what? It awakens our desire for the thing that is forbidden to us. I mean, the very fact that someone says no makes us want to say yes. It just does, right? The fact that something is forbidden. By the way, the opposite is also true. The fact that someone tells us yes means that we have this tendency as sinful human beings to want to say no. We're just not very agreeable creatures. We're deeply committed to ourselves. We're deeply committed to ourselves. And we don't see how deeply committed to ourselves we are. We like to think that we're deeply committed to the right ideals. What we don't know is we're really deeply committed to ourselves. We're in love with our opinions. We're in love with our desires. We love them deeply. The moment Adam and Eve are told every other tree but not that tree, the serpent knows that that's the one to fix their attention on. They can look at all the other trees and look at them and admire them and feast on them, and it's all fine. But the moment they're told not that one, the serpent goes, got him. Right? That one. Why? Because we human beings have a desire for what is forbidden. We have an unlimited capacity to want, to desire, especially when it's forbidden. Especially when it's forbidden. For this reason, the law awakens sin in us. It plays on that desire. Oh, sorry. Remember this guy? J.D. Rockefeller was once asked the question, how much is enough? J.D. Rockefeller at his peak owned 1% of the entire American economy. And listen to this, and 90% of the oil and gas industry. That's a lot. Asked how much, his answer was just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Right? Just a little bit more. Why? Because we humans have an unlimited capacity to desire. It's unlimited. We have this drive within us that says it's not enough. Just a little bit more. Now, Scripture gives us the reasons for this. It tells us reasons for this. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11, gives us one reason, probably the key reason, why we human beings have an unlimited capacity for desire. It says, He has made everything appropriate in its time. That's a mouthful in and of itself. He makes everything appropriate in its time. We're not always so committed to the right timing for the appropriateness of things, but He has made everything appropriate in its time. He has also set eternity in their heart. He has also set eternity in their heart. That phrase has a world of meaning in it. He has set eternity in their heart. Think about that phrase for a minute. What does it mean? It means, first of all, that we are made in the image of God. God is an eternal being. He had no beginning. He has no end. He's eternal. And so, created in God's image, there is something in us that reflects the eternality of God. He has put eternity in our hearts. It means that we're made like Him. It means in part that we are a reflection of God's unlimited eternality. But it also means that there is an unlimited vastness within us that begs to be filled. There's an unlimited vastness in us that begs to be filled. So as I'm thinking about this and I'm writing these words, I'm rehearsing the children's song in my mind that my kids listened to, heard when they grew up. Maybe some of yours did as well. Life without Jesus is like a donut. Thank you. Why? Because there's a hole in the middle of your heart, right? An empty space. Every analogy breaks down at some point. The problem with the donut is that it's just a small hole in the middle. The reality is we have an eternal hole in us. We are made in the image of God. There is eternity within us. That is, there's an unlimited vastness within us that begs to be filled. It's why, secondly, our mortality troubles us. Listen to this. And not just our mortality troubles us, our limitations trouble us. We have something within us that craves the unlimited. And what it means in part is the fact that we're going to die is a trouble to us. It's a problem for us. It's a human issue, mortality. Why? Because we don't like the idea of ending. We have a desire for eternity within us. but it's also what gives us a problem with our limitations. The fact that, man, there's just some things that I can't do, some things I can't know. I can't know it all, can't be an expert in everything. There's some things that I don't have resources for, that I can't afford. And the reality is this, that all of us have a limited amount of energy. This is a little bit of free marriage insight that I wish I had discovered earlier in life. Not everybody has the same capacity for everything. Right? And not only do I struggle with my limitations, but I struggle with the limitations of the people around me. Because sometimes their limitations impose a limitation on me that is more restrictive than the one I would have to live under if I were all by myself. Limitations are a challenge to us. And we kick against them in our own lives, and we can kind of resent them in others, especially when the limitations in others become an inconvenience to us. Right? Well, if your spouse just gets tired quicker and earlier than you do, and you would like more company, more party, Christmas to last longer, and they're looking at you going, I'm just beat, that's it, I'm done. You might resent the fact that you got to shut it down early, but it's an acceptance of limitations. It's an acceptance of limitations. We only have so much to give. And please hear this. Please hear this. Limitations are not necessarily unspiritual. They're human. They're human. Right? It's not always helpful to look at someone else and say, oh, you're tired. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not be weary. They will walk and not faint. Well, you can quote the verse. Right? Some of us love to quote scripture like that to the tired people around us. And then the tired people around us are having to quote scriptures themselves, like, thou shalt not kill. Right? Let's be real about it. Because that's what they want to do. And they resent their limitations in that moment, that they can't do what they want to do. Right? It's not always a spiritual issue involved. They are simply limitations. There are limitations. We have them. Lady Julian of Norwich once said, anything less than God ever me wanteth. Anything less than God ever me wanteth. In other words, because there's eternity within me, the only one who can fill that space is God. No one else can. There's nothing else big enough to satisfy. So, we're sitting around talking yesterday, the guys having a conversation. I don't remember how it came up, but cars came up somewhere in the conversation. And somebody was talking about whether they preferred Lamborghinis or Ferraris, and I was on the Ferrari side, and others were expressing their affection for Lamborghinis. And not me being more realistic, I don't like, the gaudier the car is, the less I'm going to like it. For me, most of the Lamborghinis just look a little bit over the top. So for others, they don't, right? So I actually said, I would prefer, and I pulled up on my phone a picture of the Audi e-tron, the electric car they're developing. That is a beautiful car. Then I got to thinking to myself, I can think of some beautiful BMWs as well. And boy, recently did I see a Maserati that looked really nice as well. And as I sat there thinking to myself, it was like, if I could only have one, which would be the one I would pick? And I don't know. And the reason is because I have an unlimited capacity to appreciate beauty. And when something strikes your eye, you say to yourself, that's beautiful. I like that. But the problem is, if I had the Audi, somebody would drive past me in the Maserati. And I would go, that's beautiful too. And they're different. And they're different. We have an unbelievable capacity to desire. The problem is, nothing we desire has the ability to fill us. Can't fill us. Can't fill us. Has not the ability to fill us. Anything less than God ever me wanteth, I will always be wanting. Now, this fact of our desires has some pretty profound implications. I just want to touch on them quickly before we close. But I want you to hear this, because this is vital for us to understand. Proverbs 27, verse 4. Proverbs 27, verse 4 says this: wrath is fierce, and anger is a flood, but who can stand before jealousy? But who can stand before jealousy? So if you look up the word jealousy, what you'll discover is it means ardent zeal. Ardent zeal. And this word jealousy that's used here can be applied in either of two ways. It covers both. But it can be applied to either of two ways. It is one, either the intense desire, the ardent zeal, the intense desire to keep what you already have. It's why some of us have guns in our homes in case someone robs us. I have an intense desire to keep what I have. You can't just indiscriminately take it from me. I want to keep what I have. Whether you have that or not, I think spouses rightly feel a certain jealousy over one another because they want to keep what they have. They don't want to share. We want to keep what we have. However, this word can also be used for the desire we have to gain what we don't have, but someone else does. The desire to gain what someone else has and we don't have. This is where we get the phrase keeping up with the Joneses. It's a form of jealousy. I see what you have and wish I could have it. I see what someone else has and I don't have it and I want it. This is the idea. And Proverbs tells us that while anger is fierce, that wrath is fierce, and anger is like a flood, you can't stand before unrestrained jealousy. You can't stand before jealousy. People kill for jealousy. People kill for it. They want to keep what they have. They want to take what someone else has and they don't. Proverbs tells us, as powerful, and listen, this is my belief. I don't think Proverbs is intending to tell us that jealousy is stronger than anger. Here's what I think it's telling us. We all know how strong wrath is, but we seriously underestimate jealousy. We don't begin to comprehend how powerful jealousy is. Proverbs is saying something like, you got to put jealousy in the same category as the anger that comes in like a flood and sweeps everything away in front of it. That anger, which can destroy completely everything in its path, is the same kind of thing. You can't stand before jealousy. Jealousy is just as powerful. It is just as consuming. It is just as destructive as the most violent temper, the most violent wrath you can possibly think of is. The desire to have, the desire to have, the desire to have. Never satisfied, never satisfied, never satisfied. It's a powerful thing. Proverbs proclaims the power of jealousy because it springs from our limitless capacity to desire. And therefore, it implies a limitless ability to act in order to gain or to keep what we desire. Some people, some of us, unrestrained, will do anything to get what we want. You know, here's the reality. The reality is that you can't have everything. But it's amazing what people will give up in order to pursue what they really want. A spouse can look at a spouse and say, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. If all you're going to do is work, I'm unsatisfied. I don't want to stay here anymore. And the unlimited appetite, whatever it is, I need approval. I need someone to pat me on the back and tell me I did a good job. I need more money. I need more stuff. I need a promotion. Whatever the desire is that drives will cause people to lose things that any sane person would say is the most valuable thing you can have in life. But the unlimited appetite for more drives people to do crazy things. And it's not something that can be filled. It can't be filled. Now, I don't want you to turn to this proverb. I think most everyone's going to know it. This is the last one on this thing of desire. But I want to tell you what comes later in just a moment. Proverbs 27 verse 20 says, how many of you remember this? The eyes of a man are never satisfied. Remember the proverb? The eyes of a man are never satisfied. They're never satisfied. Humans have an incredible tendency to self-delude. To self-delude. You say, why do you say that now? Here's a delusion that lots of people live under. The alcoholic says, just one more drink and I'll stop. You can forget that. Not likely. Not likely. Because the eyes of man are never satisfied. This self-delusion, just one more fling, just one more indulgence, just one more. This will be the last one. I'll give myself one last one and that'll be the last of it. You can forget that. It's never likely to be your last. Why? Because the eyes of man are never satisfied. We have an unlimited capacity to desire. I don't care if it's drugs. I don't care if it's alcohol. I don't care if it's pornography. I don't care if it's the gambler sitting at the table saying, just one more dollar. As long as the house will front him alone, he'll go a little further. Right? Just one more. Just one more. You can add to the list. But the fact of the matter is, the vices all prosper off the lie that we tell ourselves, just one more, and I'll stop. But what they're really using is this right here. The eyes of a man are never satisfied. Never satisfied. There's never enough. Now, does anyone off the top, don't say it out loud, does anyone off the top of your head remember what the end of the verse is? Let me tell you what the end of the verse is. Proverbs 27 verse 20 says this. Well, it actually comes right before. It says this. Sheol and Abaddon are never satisfied, nor are the eyes of man ever satisfied. You know what it's saying? Hell never gets enough people in it. There's never enough souls for hell to close its gates and say no more. The proverb is literally giving us an analogy between the capacity of the most evil place you can think of to desire another soul, comparing that to the human heart and the amount of desire that resides within us. Hell will never say no more. And the eyes of a man are never satisfied. That's a dose of reality, isn't it? It's a slap in our face. This is the unlimited eternality that is within us. A space that is so vast, it's limitless. There's no filling it. There's no filling it. So the problem is we have an unlimited capacity for desire. What is it that we're looking for? What is it that we're looking for? What is it that you and I are craving so much? Well, listen to this. I'm gonna come down for a second to a fairly low level. We've been doing Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and Genesis and Jesus' words. Now I'm going to come down, but there's a statement that was made by a songwriter that happens to contain an element of truth to it. And in fact, it combines two thoughts. It combines the thought of how much desire we have, the fact that we have an unlimited desire. And he also identifies what we need when he says, I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. Right? You know what he's saying? He's acknowledging the fact that there's an unlimited desire that can never be filled. And he's acknowledging what I really want is to be satisfied. I want satisfaction. But I can never get what I want. I can never get enough of anything to fill me. The desire is there. It just keeps on. It keeps on. It's relentless. It's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. And what I really want is something to satisfy me. And I can't get satisfied. Can't get satisfied. No matter what. I want to close with the answers to these questions. What is it we're looking for? What do we desire? What we're desiring is satisfaction. What we're longing for is to be satisfied. We want to be satisfied. In this series of messages, we've been looking at heaven. And by the way, while I didn't come out and say it, it was in the Christmas Eve service as well. Heaven gives us the place of belonging that we have always wanted. It gives us the meaning of life. Significance, purpose, meaning. It gives us wholeness. We want to be whole. And it satisfies our desire for wonder. That's what we looked at it on Christmas Eve. But notice that all of these are desires of the human heart. We want to belong. I want there to be meaning to my life. I want to be whole. I want to live in a place where there's unlimited wonder for me to appreciate. I have these desires. And by the way, while wanting all those things, I also want to be satisfied. I want to be satisfied. And there's just not anything on earth that can give those to us. Nothing on earth can give those to us. So let's close with this. We've looked at desire. Let's look at satisfaction for a second. And I will take less time on satisfaction than I did on desire. 1 Corinthians 2, 6 through 9. Christians have borrowed this verse right out of its context for a long time. It's okay. There's an appropriate way to do that. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 6 through 9 says this. Yet we do speak wisdom among those who are mature. A wisdom, however, not of this age, nor of the rulers of this age who are passing away, but we speak God's wisdom in a mystery, the hidden wisdom which God predestined before the ages to our glory, the wisdom which none of the rulers of this age has understood. For if they had understood it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But just as it is written, things which the eye has not seen and the ear has not heard and which have not entered the heart of man, all that God has prepared for those who love Him. We borrow that verse for about heaven, but let me just say quickly what it's originally used for. It was a quotation. It's a quotation, and it was applied by the Apostle Paul to the fact that the rulers of Jesus' day couldn't see, couldn't imagine what God had prepared for those that loved him through the death of the Lord Jesus Christ. So here Jesus comes into this world. Jesus comes into this world, God's gift to us. And the people of this world can't understand what it is that God is giving to them, so they killed him. Their eyes could not see. Their ears could not hear. Their minds could not understand what God was preparing for those who loved him. And that's how the scripture was originally intended to be used by Paul. But for a long time now, Christians have looked at that verse and said, man, that applies to Jesus' first coming. I think it might also apply to his second coming. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard. It's not entered into our mind. The things that God has prepared for those who love him. All right, one more question. How many of you have ever gotten a Christmas gift that was a complete shock to you? Didn't expect it. Didn't see that one coming. All right, I'm not going to ask you how many of you received an unpleasant surprise. How many have ever received an unbelievably pleasant surprise, a gift that was given to you that you never expected and you just said, wow? Right? Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, it's not entered into the heart of man, the things that God has prepared for those who love him. I can open my Bible and I can read Revelation 21 and 22, the most complete description of heaven given to us in Scripture, and still sit back and say, I have no idea what that actually is going to be like. No idea. No idea. You see, part of the reason why we can't imagine what heaven is going to be like is because we have never known, we have never found, and we have never imagined anything that could satisfy us. We have no frame of reference for heaven. We have no frame of reference for heaven. The fact of the matter is, we can't imagine it. I can't see it. I can't hear it. I can't imagine it because heaven is going to satisfy me, and I have no frame of reference for that right now. I have none. In heaven, I will be completely satisfied. I will be completely satisfied. Why is it that the Bible speaks of gold and precious stones and pearls in heaven? Why does it speak of crystal clear water? Now, I got to be honest with you. How many of you just love water? I had a feeling that would be the case. God bless you guys. How many of you guys think that water needs help? Like, if you could make water taste like something, that would be a good thing. So, my wife gave me some oil, some lemon drops, lemon essential oils. And at least when I put a couple drops in my water, at least it tastes like something. I know, it's super unspiritual and completely undisciplined, and it is what it is. But I just drink water more when there's taste in it. I don't know what the water's going to taste like in heaven. I know that C.S. Lewis described it as somehow it was sweet. And I thought, C.S. Lewis has got to be a man after my own heart, right? He had to understand the deficiency of water such as it is. It's a sin-fallen world that probably originally tasted like something, and because of the fall, it doesn't taste like anything anymore. When we get to heaven, it'll be restored. It'll taste like something good. But what he says is crystal clear water. My roommate in college, we'd go out and play basketball. We would sweat. We would be exhausted. We'd be thirsty. We'd come back to our room. I'd walk over to the sink, grab a glass, stick it under the water faucet, take a drink. He would fill up a glass of water, put it on his desk, and then he'd go like this. The first time I saw him do it, I said, Glenn, what are you doing? And he said, I just want to look at it. What is your problem? Can you imagine how good it's going to taste? Yes, I just drank. You could too if you just drink it, right? But he said, I just want to sit there and look at it for a minute and tell myself, how good it's going to feel when it goes down, how cold it is, and how refreshing it's going to be. You're such a goof. What's the matter with you? Right? But he was anticipating something that was going to be delightful to him. We all have the experience of drinking a cup of cold water when we're really thirsty and setting it down and going, man, that was really good. Crystal clear water. A tree with 12 kinds of fruit every month. Now I read that and I go, I don't know how literally to take that, but what I can say for sure is this. Gold, precious stones, pearls, crystal clear water, a tree with 12 kinds of fruit. God is telling us all of your desires for beauty, your physical appetites, the things that your body needs, it's all going to be covered. You're going to be completely satisfied with everything you need. Right? Variety in the fruits. 12 every month. Right? Even your need for variety is going to be satisfied. Satisfaction. Deep, powerful, profound satisfaction that is going to be given to us by God. We will finally and forever be satisfied. There will be no more longing. There will be no more unfulfilled desires. We will be full of all good things, and we will want and need nothing else. Heaven is for satisfaction. Heaven is for satisfaction. Let me end with a quote from C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis said this, every desire for beauty, he didn't say this, I wrote that. Every desire for beauty, for abundance, for physical drives is going to be fully, finally satisfied. This is what C.S. Lewis wrote. The fact that our heart yearns for something earth can't supply is proof that heaven must be our home. The fact that our heart yearns for something earth can't supply is proof that heaven must be our home. I want to close this morning asking you just to bow with me. If you'd bow your heads. I want to close with a couple of questions. What is it you desire? Would you ask yourself this question? Let's say you're in conflict with someone right now. There's a relationship that's not going well. What is it you really want? What would satisfy you? What do you really desire? See if you can get down below the surface. Well, I just want him to talk nicely. I want him to talk nice to me. Why? Keep asking yourself why until you can't go any further. What do you want? I want him to talk nicely to me. Why? Because I want to be liked. Why? Go as far as you can until you don't have any, till you've gotten to what you think is the bedrock. What is it that you really want? What is it that you really want? Probably be helpful if all of us knew what it is that we really want. Some of us, what we really want is something like, I just want to be admired by somebody. I want somebody to think I'm a good person. I just want somebody to tell me I'm a good person. I want someone to respect me. I want someone to admire me. Or I want someone to love me. Not for who I could be or for what they want to turn me into, but just because of who I am. Just want someone to love me. Push the question as far as you can. What is it that you really want? Now, could I ask you, instead of focusing now that you've identified it on what you really want, would you think about what it would mean for you to go to that person, usually it's a spouse, right? And say to them, what do you really want? What is it that you really need? Could you imagine how things could change for some of us? How much, right? I mean, listen, in the garden, God said it's not good for man to be alone. I know that satisfaction ultimately only comes in heaven, but how many of you believe that He placed us here on this earth and that at least as Christians, we ought to do what we can to supply what we can to another person's well-being as best as we can? Right? I mean, shouldn't we make the trip to heaven as tolerable as possible for each other? What do you really need? So that at least we can know what that person across from us is really looking for. Why it is that sometimes we hurt them more deeply than we know we hurt them, because what we have done is trampled on the deepest need in their life. When we criticize someone whose deepest need is to be admired, you've touched something that is so sore that they're not going to recover right away. What do you need? What do you really need? It's at least a start to understanding ourselves and to understanding each other in ways that make it possible for us to tolerate each other, and then maybe to move beyond tolerating each other and bless each other. What do you need? What do you need? And if you ask me, I'll tell you what I need. And then maybe we can treat those needs as holy ground. Someone just poured their heart out to me. That's holy ground. I won't step on it. I'll take my shoes off when I walk there. Right? We care for those. So that's first. Just as practically as I can. Identify what you need, and then see if someone else trusts you enough to dare to share with you what they really need. I don't know what else you might want, but it would be good today if we bowed our hearts before the Lord and we said, Lord, I acknowledge that the only one who can ever satisfy me is you, and that ultimately that's going to be found in heaven. Please hear this. Jesus invited us to make all of our requests known. So make your request known. Your desires are safe with Him. Tell Him what they are. But the trick of it is this. Once you've made your desires known, you've got to trust Him with His wisdom. And I've got to tell you this flat out. Sometimes I don't know why He doesn't give me what I want. When, man, it seems that for everything within me, what I want's a good thing. Why don't you just do this, God? Why does my granddaughter have to go through a horrible procedure that tortures all of us? God, we asked you to heal her. Why could that not be a good thing? I don't know. It's a different message for a different day. For now, I'm going to tell you this. There are just times when we don't get what we want the way we want it. There are some things I have prayed for and said, God, would you do something about this? Would you heal this? And for the life of me, I don't understand why He hasn't. So I keep having to step back and saying, Lord, since you're not giving this request that I've desired of you so far, I'm going to keep asking, God, can I trust you that you know what you're doing when I don't? And I got to tell you, every once in a while, that gets to be a battle. God, can I trust you? Because this isn't making any sense. My brothers, my sisters, I guess the way I would encourage you to trust God is with this. He knows you so well and knows what you need so completely that I want to remind you this morning that He has provided for that 100%. And in heaven, you're going to receive it in a complete and total dose for the rest of eternity. Why not now? Not sure. But you can trust Him. He sees your desires. He knows what they are. And He has provided a place where He's going to meet them all completely. Take that desire to the Lord this morning. Say, Lord, here it is again. I've prayed it lots of times. Here it is again. Here's my desire. And then, okay, Lord, I'll trust you. I'll trust you with what I don't understand. And I'll wait and believe that you're going to satisfy me someday. Lord, as we close this morning, coming off of Christmas morning, we've given gifts, we've received gifts. And with all the enjoyment that comes, we recognize that nothing anyone can give us can satisfy us except for you. But Lord, I just would ask you to speak to our hearts this morning. And Lord, if there are those who are struggling in a relationship with a parent, with a child, with a spouse, with some other loved one or friend, Lord, there's been conflict, there's been animosity, there's been difficulty between them. I pray that you would help us to identify in ourselves what it is that we're really looking for and why it is that we're so hurt or maybe angered by that person across from us. And then I pray that having identified it, you would give us the strength to just take that, put it aside, and look at that other person and say, what is it that you need that I might be able, in some imperfect, incomplete measure, to supply? What is it that you're looking for? And Lord, that we'd be willing to set ourselves aside enough to love that other person and to be part of your hand of provision to their lives. Lord, there are some of us in this room that have been praying for a situation, a need, a desire for a very long time. We don't fully understand why you haven't granted us the thing we've asked for, the thing that, as far as we can tell, would be something that you should delight in. It should be a good thing. Maybe it's a healing, the provision of a need, whatever it is. And Lord, there may be some who have grown weary or discouraged in the asking. And I would pray that this morning the hope of heaven would fill their hearts. The reminder that there is a time and a place in which you intend to supply and to provide for every desire we have, to the point of complete satisfaction. And I pray that the knowledge that that is what you have for us, that you are so good to want to provide that to us, would fill our hearts such that we would be able to trust you with what we don't understand in the here and now. Pray that you would help us. Lord, let not our faith grow weak. Let our faith not grow weary. Let us hold fast our trust in you. Thank you that you are the God who supplies. Lord, fill the longings of our heart and remind us today of the glory of heaven. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Are you looking forward to heaven? Are you looking forward to heaven? perfect belonging, perfect meaning, wholeness, wonder, and complete satisfaction. Amen. Lord bless you. Thank you for being here this morning. Merry Christmas for the last time. Merry Christmas to you all. May the Lord bless you. May his joy fill your heart. May his presence go with you as you leave this morning.